Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. It is.
Happy Good Friday.
I say it's a Friday, and let's make it a good one, right?
Done.
I just want to check our sound levels here, just to check that we're coming through okay to social media. So let me just do that. And then, yes, we sound crystal clear and spectacular. We have upped our audio game this week, so you'll have to excuse if we have headphone hair today.
I don't know about you, but my hair looks fabulous.
Your hair does look fabulous. my hair looks like it's dwindling.
Meanwhile, Steve needs some Rogaine.
So we have new microphones and a new headphone setup today, just so we can improve the quality of our audio here. We are potentially going to use some of this in podcasts and things like that, use some sound bits from it. So I kind of feel a little bit like we should start speaking like this, like the ladies on SNL.
Like, we love your sweaty balls.
I don't know how to respond to that. We're joined today by Pete Sweaty.
No, it's
Sweaty.
sweaty.
Pete Sweaty. Pete.
Uh-oh, we got Steve laughing.
I've got itchy ears.
Well, welcome to our Friday show, y'all.
If you are here for the first time, this is our Friday hot seat, and feel free to come in and drop a question. If you'd like to join us on Zoom, on Loom, I'm going to drop the Zoom link in a few different places, and we would love to have you on here. Come and answer your business questions. We'll review social media profiles. We will do any of these things, but we're also, very aware that it's 5 p.m. on the East Coast. It's Good Friday, and people have a lot of time with their family. And so at the same point, if there's no one here, we're also happy to just dig on in and put ourselves in the hot seat, right, Nicole?
Yep, that's the plan.
So yeah, I'm just going to come in and drop these. Marcy's live and laughing at us talking about sweaty balls. So everyone knows what our humor's like here. So I'm just dropping that link. But if you do have a business question and you don't want to come on live, we won't force you to come on camera. You can come and drop the message here inside of Zoom on the chat. You can drop it in any of the threads that we've got this posted on. We'd love to have an opportunity just to help you out with your business. We have solved some business issues for people this week. We have helped people see things differently in their business. It's what we do week in and week out, and we love to do it. And so this is why we started to do this, and we're really glad to be here. We're really glad to be here with you. And I know some of you tune in on a regular basis. We hear in our social media from people who are coming in and getting great information, and then feeling free to come back and ask us other questions. Someone who was on the show the other week dropped Nicole a message, and Nicole was able to give follow-up advice for that person, and that's what we're here to do. And so excited to be here.
Need to elaborate when we say, if you're in the business hot seat, if you have business questions, that can be a little bit broad. That's a really broad statement. But what I want you to think about, we want you to think about is what are your pain points? What are you struggling with in your business? Where are your blind spots in your business? Where are areas of growth needed? What are the parts that you feel confused about? Steve and I have, along with another business partner and a team of people, have built 2 7-figure businesses and kind of been through the peaks and valleys, still going through the peaks and valleys of business. And we don't consider ourselves the ultimate experts, but we are the experts in our experience. And we have a few different types of businesses, and we definitely have answers to your questions and solutions to your problems. And I don't know, I think we just enjoy, we love it when people pick our brains, and maybe we like to hear ourselves talk a little bit, but we really enjoy helping people in that area. I happen to love when I notice that somebody has an aha moment, whether it's related to business or business mindset. I'm much more of a touchy-feely kind of person. And the mindset piece of this is hard. And you have, just as you have peaks and valleys in the actual business part of it, you have peaks and valleys in the mindset part of it, right? Some days you wake up and you feel like superwoman, Wonder Woman. And other days you wake up and not so much, and you say, I'm quitting this, I'm done.
Only once a week.
Only once a week. Yeah. And it's normal that, just like in life, those peaks and valleys are absolutely normal. And I think that, you have to embrace the hard parts and learn to expect them and accept them.
Yeah, I had a great success story from a client I just connected with today. She had a show that she was running. It was a home and garden show down in Santa Rosa near us, and honestly had spent a lot on marketing the last couple of years and not got great results. Overall, she'd spent something like $18,000 on marketing for this show, and 500 people had shown up. And then we worked with her this last year, probably cut her marketing spend overall in half. And she went out and got double the number of people there at the show. The atmosphere was fantastic. People were loving the show. She had a live musician, which she'd never had before. She had people dancing, being there, having fun. It rained one of the days, and they still had as many people come on the day that it rained as the day that it was dry. And I think that's, sometimes just a different set of eyes on a problem can really open things up. And we're really excited to hear that. So great job, Tammy.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not seeing any questions on the threads right now. We did have some from earlier in the week, but we'll come back to those. As I said, it's Good Friday. People are not here, so let's do something a little different.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. How are we doing this?
You're going to tell us your story. What's your story, Steve? What's Steve all about? How did he get here? Why is he in America? What is he doing in America?
It's a question I ask myself constantly.
This crazy American woman.
So how did I get here? Well, my mother and father met, and they loved each other very much.
Hey, it's Good Friday.
It was a good day for them, I'm sure. And so anyway, then I came into the world, and from that point onwards, I definitely had an interesting childhood in its own ways. I remember getting beaten up a lot. I probably said things that I shouldn't say to people, that took things a little too far, and definitely there was a time that my mum had to come pick me up from school, and the principal said, "It's not as bad as it looks." It's beat up. And in any case, without going into childhood trauma, wounded children and things like that, talking of wounded children, a rodent-sized child or a child-sized rodent just ran behind us here, shook the floors. But anyway, it's for me, getting into entrepreneurship was something I did early on. I always looked for that exchange of value, and it's funny because when I look at our kids and them trying to barter with us, it's that same entrepreneurial spirit that they're looking to make a dime or something for doing these things. Well, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. And so for me, one of my first things was, when we were growing up, home computers were becoming more of a thing, and families were starting to have them in their house. It was quite an investment, if I remember rightly. But we had one, and I typed up all my French vocabulary notes. And as a result of that, I was able to sell my French notes to a friend. And I got £1 for them. And mum and dad said, "You can't sell French notes to your friend. And I said, yes, I can. I spent the time to type them up, and I'm keeping that pound. And I did. And I probably went to the to the candy store and brought 101 penny chews, because you used to be able to get chews for a penny back then. Probably not anymore. And so from that, I went on and always had lots of jobs. The second I could have a paper round, I wanted a paper round. I wanted the independence of having money, and so did that and carried on through things, and just carried on building and building. My undergraduate degree was in French, German, and Spanish, so I spent a lot of time living in different countries. And when I came back from doing that, finished my degree, I went to work for a business, and I had a job, but at the same point started a company. Around that time, people were starting to learn languages through Skype. So I could learn French with someone from France. I could learn German with someone from Germany. Rather than having an English teacher teaching them German, you could actually work with a native speaker who could really tweak those things. And suddenly the international borders were broken down. And around that time, I probably built my first website as well. So this was around 2004. So getting on for 20 years of website building in one way or another. So I remember doing that, and using some of the software that the designers were using in the motorcycle apparel company that I worked for. And then an opportunity presented itself for me to come out to the United States and as part of the business. Much as though I was the language person, I was also one of the best analysts. And I think that analytical mind helps me now when I work with people. But I was able to, build spreadsheets and do things in Excel. I always tell people I got at least 2 promotions in life because of my ability to use Microsoft Excel.
It's pretty wicked. I remember the first time I saw you do something with a spreadsheet. I was like, okay.
It's like watching you do a ballet bun for sure. It's like I don't know how you do that. With girls' hair, it's just like it's lost on me. So not saying that Excel sheets are lost on you, but I swear, just watching you do that, I can.
Excel sheets are lost on me.
So yeah, I had the opportunity to come to the United States and to California. It was a wonderful time to come out here. It was $2 to the pound. I was being paid in pounds. So I was doing amazingly well out here. I had a corporate apartment, a corporate car, everything was being paid for. So I was literally just getting paid fun money every month, which was fantastic. It was a great time to be here. And then I rolled from that into doing an MBA out here, an MBA in marketing. Which everyone's like, oh, an MBA. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I learned marketing after I finished my MBA, but, it was a great opportunity to get myself $50,000 of debt. So, with all that in mind, entrepreneurship was always something. And then, I met this lovely lady. And she told me, I just did a turbo kick certification. I'm like, you should have a health and fitness business. And so I got her a logo made. I got her business cards. I not only am I an entrepreneur, I think everybody should be an entrepreneur as well.
Everybody can be.
Everybody can be.
You don't have to be, but
right. And the world has changed so much since then. The gig economy is so big now that it's like, well, often it's like, well, I can earn $20 an hour driving a car. And I don't have to answer to anybody. I can be at work when I want to be at work. If I want to have Easter Sunday off, I can have Easter Sunday off. If I need a Wednesday off to go to a doctor's appointment or go and see my kid in a recital, I can do that. So the economy has changed so much that people are taking those sorts of jobs. And we're seeing the shortages of people working other jobs because people are taking power back, and it's phenomenal. And that's what entrepreneurship or being in the gig economy, which is a form of entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is. Because you're in control of what you earn. You're not stuck around things. And don't get me wrong, there are regular careers that have that. But, there's lots of reasons to be an entrepreneur. And so anyway, all that being said, we started the agency in essence around summer of 2016, having done this sort of thing for years already at that point. I'd worked a stint with a mobile app company, and had some great experience with that as well. Literally went around every winery in Napa, Sonoma, Russian River, trying to sell people a mobile app because the owner of the business thought that everyone should have a mobile app. He was wrong, but I went and did the good fight, went out and did that sort of thing. And then on the, with that experience in mind, it was easy, having been the marketing manager of the business school. So I was the marketing manager for the business school at the school that I went to. They actually sponsored me for a work visa. They'd never done it for a staff member before, but I'd done that great analysis on Excel, simplified a process from 20 minutes to 30 seconds a student. This was part of a graduation requirement check. So that was a 40 times return on time by doing that. And by simply doing that, I created so much efficiency and no errors as well. Everything was automated and done in that way. And I think they actually went on to develop a piece of software to do it. But for years, the graduate programs in the business school was ahead of it. And so I got offered this job, and then it got promoted into the marketing manager of the business school. While doing that, I was picking up knowledge, picking up things from Digital Marketer, who I highly recommend for anyone who's in marketing, who wants to get further into marketing. I don't think anyone should try and get into marketing if they're not into marketing. There's definitely little things that you can do for yourself. But just as I'd like a dentist to look at my mouth rather than my 7-year-old child, I'd prefer a marketer to tie everything together for me than trying to do all of it myself. But there's definitely things you can do as you start your business. So anyway, all in all, marketing experience, everything like that. 2017, I left my job at the university to go full time doing this, and the business has grown and grown. And as Nicole said, it's not been smooth sailing all the way. You always think, oh, if we just get to $10,000 a month, it'll be easier, we won't have the same problems. But you get to $10,000 and you have different problems. And at $30,000, the problems are different. And at $80,000, which is $1 million a year, the problems are different. And at $100,000, the problems are different. And in fact, we've never really said this, but we've had a record month of nearly $150,000, and seeking months in excess of that. And that's the ability that you can do in terms of setting up a business and having success with the business. And we're lucky to have a very talented team around us to do this. So that's kind of like that's a long way of talking. I feel like I spoke a long time there about our entrepreneurship journey, and said it in a different way to what we said it before as well. So
yeah, I think it was different. You really truly did start from the beginning, which is funny in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was thinking about starting from the beginning as well.
Mm-hmm.
I share much more on social media than Steve does. I started in network marketing in business. Really, that's where I feel like my entrepreneurial experience started. I remember when you made me the business cards.
Yeah.
That was kind of the beginning of it, and it really didn't sink in. I was thinking about this morning too, how your growth process, just getting older as the decades pass, you realize that this is not a linear journey, and things take a long time to set in, like sink into you. Like you can very surface level be learning something, but then years later, I realized that they didn't sink in for a really long time. It's really interesting. More on that, keep your eyes peeled. But, as I said, I share a whole lot more on social media than Steve does. I've been kind of quiet in the last year. I've had some, we have contractions in life and we have expansions in life. And I feel like last year was a huge contraction. And it probably was for a lot of people because we made it through the pandemic, and I think we're kind of dealing with that trauma. And it also brought a lot of things to the surface, and so there were layers that needed to be shed and peeled away, and all of that last year. But I'm definitely feeling an expansion slowly happening. So you guys may know a whole lot more about me than you do Steve, because I have this, I've learned to think of it as a superpower. It's getting vulnerable, even today, I feel like I got really vulnerable, and people are so sweet. They send me messages and say, I hope you're okay. And yes, I am okay. I'm okay because I'm facing it and I'm getting vulnerable with myself and with everyone else. I am okay, which is good, right? I guess somebody may not be, but I am. I'm good. So since Steve took it all the way back to childhood, little Nicole wanted to be a famous singer. I sing, and when I was little, my very first experience with singing for an audience was my third grade talent show, and I sang the song "Part of Your World" from The Little Mermaid, and I really felt famous at that time. I felt like a celebrity at my elementary school because everybody would always come and ask me to sing for them. All of the older kids in the older grades would come and, they knew me from the talent show, and I would sing in every talent show every year after that. And I started taking voice lessons. I had a voice coach, and that voice coach allowed me to, there were different performances that I did at churches and at old folks' homes, and I was really into that. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a famous singer. I had fantasies of doing that. And then, life just took a different turn. I got older, maybe it was hormones and life experience, but life just took a different turn. And I stopped taking those voice lessons. I stopped singing so much, and I started thinking about real world stuff. So it's kind of a sad story when you think about it. You drop your dream because reality sinks in. You want to add in life trauma. I am a rape survivor. I am a domestic violence survivor. I was also dealing with alcoholism and addiction in general. So, from those early teenage years until, into my 30s, I've been working through all that. It's a huge part of my journey, and it's a huge part of what I share with you guys, because I feel like healing and growth is a huge part of what message I have to share with this world. I am a healer. The wounded are the healers. So, but right out of high school, another thing I did was I worked with children. So in high school, I went through this preschool teacher program that taught me child development, and I got some college credits for it, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. And then I went into working at a daycare for a while. And then for some reason, for me, everyone would always tell me, gosh, you're not going to get paid anything doing that. Which is another sad piece, right? Because it's something that still lights me up to this day. Hanging out with kids, small kids, is it fills my cup, and they are incredible. And I felt the same way growing up. And so then I started to look for things that paid me more money, and I went right into a few different corporate jobs after high school. And then, gosh, what year was it? I guess the year doesn't matter. I was in my 20s, and I started working for an educational testing company, which I would consider a huge part of my career as an adult, because I was there for 11 years. And I'm super grateful for that opportunity, because there was one person in particular. I had a boss who she saw something in me that I did not see in myself. She probably still she still does. Finally in life, I think I see myself, or beginning to see myself, in the light that others see me. But she believed in me from like day one. It was a customer service position that I went into, and she was just like, we need more of you around here. And she just was wonderful and taught me a whole lot, and was perfect for me as a boss, because she told me exactly how things were, what she wanted, what she needed. Yeah, she'd get mad sometimes, but there were no there were no gray areas. And for me, anytime there's something that I've done or haven't done, I just need somebody to tell me. I think a lot of people walk the earth in a passive aggressive manner, and there's all these gray areas, and they don't really know how to express what they need or, what they really want. And so I'm just, I get really confused in that. But I love straight up front, to the point, and firm. That's how I thrive. And so that was a really wonderful situation for me. And then I went into a corporate training position with the same company, and it was the same boss that, sort of enabled me to do that. And I did a bunch of traveling, and that gave me incredible experience, because I think I'm a natural teacher, and learning to do that in a corporate setting with lots and lots of people in front of me. I was pumping out training classes, probably, gosh, there was one year in particular when I first started traveling for the job. It was probably felt like 1,000 people that I pumped out to go work in our call center. And maybe that doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a lot. And I was ripping and running in my 20s, and I was going, and I got just a ton of great experience there. I grew up with that company, essentially, right? And then, that piece of my company went away, and I went into yet another position, and it was more of a quiet position where I would work with school district representatives. And that was toward the end of my career with that educational testing company. And, all the while I had Adelina, my oldest daughter, and then I met Steve, got married, and had little Charlotte. And I knew after having Charlotte that I
didn't want any more babies.
No, not that. Well, after the experience, can I really do that again? I'm not quite sure. I go back and forth sometimes. I'm not sure if I can do that again, in this body anyway, But I don't know, just when I think about the entrepreneurial journey, in hindsight, I was always the type of person that I felt very stuck if I was sitting at a desk. I would always say things like, I wish I could just bring my computer outside. I'd love to be outside. I felt so shackled when I had certain hours that I had to work, ask me to be somewhere on time. My neurodivergence that kicks in. I literally lose time sometimes. I can get lost. I felt very shackled. And there was also something in me deep down inside. It's still there, and it's coming out. I know that I'm meant for something more than that. There's something that's ready to come out. And even then, I just knew, even though it was really hard to act upon it, I just knew, sometimes we don't have the confidence, we don't believe in ourselves enough. That self-doubt is absolutely real. We don't even get to the beginning point of where we think we want to be, because we're like, no, that's not for me. Which brings up another good point. When I remember being a single mom with Addie, I truly believed that I would retire from that educational testing company. And that was it for me. I was looking for an apartment in Walnut Creek, California. I worked in Concord, California. And I really love Walnut Creek. It's still a really cool place. And I was contemplating looking for a little spot for me and my daughter. And I was like, this is going to be it. This is my plan. I was comfortable. I got paid enough, enough. I got benefits for my kid and I was happy. Well, surface level happy, and so when, if you would have told me back then that I would be somebody who's built a couple of 7-figure businesses, somebody who even had the notion of having my own business, I'd probably be like, I don't know about that, But back to, being pregnant with Charlotte, I think we both knew, even though I think I I don't know. How did you feel about, did you want me to go back to work? Had you thought about it at all?
Honestly, to a certain extent, I thought you would be going back to work and that we'd need it from a financial perspective, and you kind of just said, "Hey, go figure it out."
Well, I think I was a little bit different than that.
But yeah, no, it was just a question of, I think we really didn't know where we were going to end up. We were kind of very much living in the moment at that point. It was like, the affordability of having two kids in daycare just wouldn't have been possible without having to do extra work and things like that. And so I don't think we knew where we were going to end up. And we'd got started with network marketing, and I think it was a question of, let's carry on with this. Let's figure this out to make it make sense. Because
you have a charger for this?
I'll it's downstairs. I did ask Charlotte to bring it up, but that was before we started. I didn't realize it hadn't come up, so I'll go grab it shortly. But for me, it was a question of, let's figure it out as we get to it. And that's what we did.
Well, yeah. So I remember very vividly, Steve will be back. I remember very vividly, I was having insomnia because Charlotte, I would try to go to sleep and Charlotte would wake up and she would be, doing gymnastics in my stomach. That's still Charlotte's MO, by the way. Charlotte is our 7-year-old. And I was dealing with insomnia, and I was reading this article about a mom who had dropped her baby off at daycare, and she arrived at the daycare to pick her baby up, and her baby was no longer alive. And I think I woke Steve up and said, I can't go back to work. And I was probably crying and in tears at that point, super hormonal. And I just said, I can't, there's no way that I can go back to work. And I think Steve was a huge driving force in keeping the dream alive and the possibility alive that we could make something happen that allowed us to not have to go back to work. Steve's just plugging in here.
Sandy.
Oh dear.
There it is.
Thanks for being patient. So yeah, I'm not sure if we've ever addressed that conversation before. So you were just like, let's figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think we were waiting for you to go back to work. You were meant to go back to work at the end of January.
Yeah.
And I think we were thinking, well, maybe you go back part-time. I worked for the state at that point, so I had really good paternity leave, actually. My paternity leave was actually better than Nicole's maternity leave. Kind of shocking. I'd also played the system well, and I'd got it set up so that I was working 4 days, and my paternity leave was number of days, not number of hours. So I'd already cut my week to 4 days, and then I knew that I had 20 days of paternity leave, so I could take an extra 2 days off. So I literally was off from the end of October when Nicole was due. She was due November 5th, and Charlotte came along November 9th. So I was off from the end of October through till the end of December, completely off for those 2 months initially. And then I was only doing 2-day weeks until the end of March. So I'd work Mondays and Tuesdays and have Wednesday through Friday off. And it was a unique situation at that point. And I figured we'd probably just figure it out that you could have 2 days off and I'd work 2 days and we'd figure it out between us.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's because I'm a super sensitive person, but after having a baby, being pregnant, number one, and then after having a baby, I remember going back to work after having Addie after 8 weeks. I was lactating. I was producing milk. I had to lug a breast pump back and forth with me to work. And it was just the most uncomfortable situation. And then with Charlotte, do you remember how swollen my feet were? First of all, Charlotte was in the NICU for
4 days.
4 days afterward. My feet looked like swollen yams.
Swollen yams.
They
Ham hocks.
looked terrible. And like it took me a really long time to recover after having Charlotte. And I just cannot imagine. I'm so grateful that we were able to make it all work.
Yeah, if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't had kids yet, you have to get this figured out, because honestly, it's a life-changing experience to be able to go through a pregnancy. I'm sure we didn't have it. We were very lucky with what was going on, but to have the flexibility of your time, providing you've gone from being the entrepreneur who's basically created themselves a job. Often we see people who end up just creating themselves a job. Like if you're a baker and you love to bake cakes, that's fantastic. But at some point you have to expand from you having to do everything. Otherwise, you need to be there for every weekend for the rest of your life. And that doesn't work. There's a great book called The E-Myth. It's to do with the myth of becoming an entrepreneur by Michael Gerber. And it's a really interesting read about how people fall into that space. People end up doing what they're passionate about, but you have to work on your business, not just in your business. And if you can get to that before you have kids, you'll be in a place where you can go to the recital, you can take the day off. We went to the beach on Wednesday. It's spring break here. Does it mean that I won't work 40 hours this week? No, I'll work 40 hours probably between the various days and things like that. But you do have the flexibility to do those things and take time off.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt your story.
No, that's okay. I mean, honestly, and I feel like my journey, I don't know if anyone thinks of it this way, but, while I've gone in and out of business, I feel like it's been just as much of a growing human journey, alongside building a business and learning what you are good at, learning what you can handle. And this stirs up so much for me. And it's a topic that I've been thinking about a lot lately when it comes to, I'm a woman, so I can really relate to a woman's experience with this. And let's say also I'm an empath, so I can relate to an empath's experience. I'm neurodivergent, ADD, and on the spectrum, and not necessarily realizing this the whole time, not being able to honor that and just trying to push through, because society tells you that you have to keep pushing and keep going and keep doing. And if you're not working hard, then you're not good enough. If you're not working hard, you're not going to find success. And I think there's value in doing some of the hard work and having that experience. But then I believe that value decreases once you begin to push yourself past the point of survive. When you're in survival mode on a regular basis, it's ridiculous. And you have to be able to love, respect, and honor yourself enough to know what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And this, it speaks to a man as well, because, and I don't know, this comes up for me too. I think about, men have people that do shit for them all the time and nobody asks anything. Nobody says a word. You guys have assistants, a secretary, because the man gets to do the things that he's good at, in his wheelhouse, and it's all good. Right?
What's with that British accent?
That wasn't a British accent. That was just a proper accent. And this is my experience with it. This is what I feel, because I begin to feel guilt when I ask for help, or if I say to myself, I don't want to do that piece. I want someone else to do that piece for me. I want to stay in my zone of genius and get to do what brings me the most joy, and where I light up, and where I'm in flow, and where I can provide my greatest talent, so I can have a secretary, I can have an assistant, and I'm sure there are people who are well past that point and okay with that. But I happen to be in that zone where you know, that layer is beginning to peel off. And I say to myself, no, F that. I can have that too. You know,
Yeah.
In fact, I am doing nothing but honoring, respecting, and loving myself when I know that. And then it takes courage to be able to hire the right people to do that. You know, why can't I have what I want? I can, and so can you.
You know, it's funny, we were doing a full moon ceremony at the Marnie Center where we're both on the board last night. I'm blurring in and out. And
Sit a little bit closer.
it's a little bit closer to
There
you.
you go. Oh, there we go.
We will have the camera sorted next week. We've got some better stuff to get this working for us. But anyway, one of the things it was talking about was, can you set boundaries in relationships, in working relationships, etc. And actually, as I actually went into it, I'm doing some work now on archetypes. I'm not sure what anyone knows about archetypes, but we have archetypes inside of ourselves. They are behavior systems that have been built into us. We all have a child of some sort that shows up somehow, and everyone talks about their inner child, for example. And I know my inner child is still looking for love, and I'm having to deal with some of those things. And I think some of the things that you're talking about here are kind of your inner archetype, you know, because if you have a carer as an inner archetype, someone who's in that position, carers don't feel like they can have other people care for them sometimes. And so I think that that's sometimes our behaviors are affected by what's going on inside of ourselves. You know, I think about how my inner child comes out a lot, really, and I need to do some work on it, honestly. Hands up, I really need to work on my inner child, because sometimes it comes out as being petulant, you know, comes out. Nicole's laughing because she knows what I can be like sometimes, and you know, we're all flawed humans, but I certainly have some flaws, quite a few. And then on the same note, you see it coming out just looking for love and over serving, not setting boundaries, all of these things because of that. And you know, going back to some of the things we spoke about, I think doing that inner work and understanding why you react the way you react, being aware of that, and then being able to do the work around that becomes really important. I know that's kind of riffing off, but you know, it's kind of going back to that.
I'm glad you brought up the archetypes, because I thought that somehow that would come up, you know, because obviously, you know, what I'm thinking about, it's a big topic. Like, even I was listening to, I took a somatic healing experience class, virtual class with Saad Simone. That name keeps coming up on our lives. I'm really enjoying his content right now. But, you know, he had someone who was on his live with him and said, oh, she's the boss, you know, it's him, it's his company, but can you know yourself enough and honor and love and respect yourself enough to know that you have a boss? There's somebody who's the boss of you in your own company. Why? Because you know and honor what your strengths and weaknesses are. Whereas I believe, at least the societal message that I have picked up, and I don't know, I'm not sure where it comes from with me. I've tried to do some soul searching on that to figure out where that comes from. But just this all or nothing attitude, having to be responsible for everything. Like, if you have a leadership quality and you know that that's what you enjoy and what you're good at, wonderful. But if you're not, can you have the courage to hire someone to be in that position in your company? I mean, is it your ego that's in the way? Do you want to take all the credit? Is that what it's about? And it just like was so many, even clients that we have, people that we've worked with, just people in general. Do you have the guts to say to yourself, I'm going to let somebody else do that, and I'm going to stay in my zone of genius? I don't have to take all the credit. I don't have to be the leader. You know, there's no I in team. And put your ego to the side. You know, yeah.
You know, just coming onto that same thing, one of our favorite books, or my favorite books, is Traction. It's a book that has something inside it called the Entrepreneur Operating System, and it talks about, you know, in a smallish business, what it looks like to have an executive team around you. And that's something that we do within our business. And we're still working on it. We need to find different people for different roles. But as you start to fit people into the right place and empower them, it can be amazing. And one of the key things it talks about is how often you have visionaries as entrepreneurs, but they need to work with an implementer. And in many small businesses, initially, the visionary has to be the implementer as well. And that can be really uncomfortable, it's because it's really out of your comfort zone to do that.
And it drains your creativity.
It drains your creativity because you have to then go and figure it out and get it implemented. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. On the same note as this book Traction, there's a book called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about how when you pair an entrepreneur who is visionary with an implementer, that's when things get crazy. Fuel. That's rocket fuel. Yeah. And so if you are that visionary, and a visionary is someone who has 100 different business ideas a day, or 100 ideas of how to improve the business a day, and that's me. And we have worked with teams to try and have the people come in and be able to implement and get things going. And definitely it's an ongoing, constant thing. But definitely the opportunity is there to find that person who can go out and take the dreams and then draw the plans of how to get there from them.
Yeah, it's kind of like not a quantum leap. You could take a quantum leap in the area, but it's just kind of like what I said in the beginning of this call is it's like these steps that you take in life, and these things that they come into your purview, and they're ideas that tantalize your brain, and you're like, okay, I kind of get that. And then you get to the next level and you're like, okay, well, I get that even more now. It's sinking in even more. It's really digging its claws in now. And then, meanwhile, things are smacking you against the head over and over and over again until eventually you learn. Is that this human experience? And I was going to bring up my famous thing that I always bring up, and this is, I can never remember what it's actually called, but maybe it's like the law of action or something. But Eckhart Tolle talks about, our vibration. We are vibration. We are energy, right? And if we're vibrating low, that's spreading everywhere, and we're polluting the earth, essentially. Gabby Bernstein says it too. We're vibing high, we're germinating the earth. We're contributing to the high vibration, right? And maybe it's the art of doing, the law of doing. I have to look this up. I have it on my phone, but I know it's, you either have to be able to accept what you're doing, enjoy what you're doing, or be enthusiastic about what you're doing. And this is in anything in life. And you have to be able to gauge that. And it's really interesting in my own life, because there are things that I used to absolutely force myself to do, and I could barely even accept them. But if you can't accept them, you shouldn't be doing them, because you are vibrating so low. Number one, it's a disservice to you. And number two, it's a disservice to everyone around you. So you either have to be able to accept it, enjoy it, or be enthusiastic about it. And obviously being enthusiastic about something, that's your happy place, and you're vibing super high in that area. So I always think about that. I still try to force myself to do things sometimes, and I pay for it later.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting one for sure. It's an interesting one, but we get caught in what we should do. We should have a job, we should have a retirement, we should buy a house. Yet as people are starting to awaken to a lot of these different things, and without speaking about woke culture or anything like this, but it's just a question of questioning things, being curious. I love Ted Lasso. He talks about being curious, right? Don't don't just look at things at surface, at face value. I read a great post recently that talks about people, banks had to create a way for people to make money. So by offering mortgages, people would pay double the price of that over the 30 years of a loan. They would have collateral to take things back from you, but it would be a good way for a bank to make money. And these things, while they don't necessarily align with what we've been made to expect, they certainly they make us think about things. And I think that when we think about our businesses and we think about the role that we play in it, if we look at, if we had a manufacturing line and so there was a bottleneck caused because of something, we might add an extra machine to get rid of that. We might, change the worker on it to do that. But we don't think about the impact of ourselves on our business. And are we the bottleneck? Are we stopping the business from growing it to where it needs to be? And we have to think of ourselves as a resource. Human resources are called human resources for a moment, for a reason. Get your words out, Steve. But it's like, there's a reason why we're called human resources. And just as you would investigate how that machine could become more effective, as we dig deeper into ourselves, as we remove blockages in ourselves, as we open ourselves up to more possibilities, that's when we set up the ability for our business to climb to new heights.
Anybody who cares or who's interested, A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle, and it's the 3 modalities of awakened doing. The 3 modalities of awakened doing. Highly recommend reading that book. If you pick it up and you can't keep reading it, you're just not ready for it yet. But you'll know if you're ready for it because you won't be able to put it down. So, yeah. And I don't know, with what you were just saying right now, I think that's a huge lesson. Whether you're in network marketing or, direct sales, or if you're a brick and mortar business, or if you started a digital business, something along those lines. I think people quit because they fail. And you have to realize that there really is no failure. They're just lessons. And the people who win and who find the success are the people who know that and don't stop, don't quit just because something didn't work the first time or the second time. It's not easy to remain enthusiastic about something that, failing isn't fun, right? It's really uncomfortable. But if you can get a little bit comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're going to find some huge diamonds in that. Because, and I guess it really comes back to also, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. If you really want it, then you'll show up again. You'll keep showing up for it, Well,
and ultimately, sometimes it comes down to ripping off the Band-Aid. It comes to taking the leap of faith. Mm-hmm. For most people.
So what's the story here?
There's no incentive to make that side business.
Nothing. Okay.
It gets to a certain point, and then it becomes your own.
There's a bottle of milk you can bring in from the car if you want.
You'll find a way. Right. Just like if you were stranded on a desert island and no one wants to be there.
What's it about?
You're in a terrible situation.
Nicole's Friday.
Figure out how to collect water, how to find.
Oh, you're muted though, right?
If you wanted to live, you would.
You can hear them, but not the other way.
And that's kind of this thing here.
What are they talking about today?
You might think, oh shit,
just drop the background.
Crap next month. Here comes the cursing. But you might look at it and be like, oh no, this is a really shitty situation. And it's like, well, okay, what do I do? How do I do this? Oh, I just go and get a job, right? No, we figure out a promotion to do. What can we do using the resources we have, whether they be human resources, whether they be product inventory? What can we do using the tools that we have to generate income quickly?
I can tell you, it's quite a dopamine hit when you create that income.
It
And
is, particularly if it's
incredible.
quick, right? You know, a long slow haul, it can feel like a long slow haul, but
Yeah.
if you can have something that you have a $10,000 day, $100,000 day.
Yeah. And it's like the saying, the good news is it's all up to you. The bad news is it's all up to you. Let's flip that. The bad news is it's all up to you. The good news is it's all up to you.
Right. And the thing is, people will always pay for value. There's always a thing to do to get ahead of things. And if you are cash flow strapped, there's things that you can do. There's advances you can get from people. You know, we have good friends who do baking and things like that. And it's like, maybe you just need to lock in, you know, deposits on cakes for August, September, October, November. Hey, I always get really busy in August. Are you going to need a cake again this year? Great. Can I just get a $10 deposit? Suddenly you've got $10 extra flowing into your pocket that wasn't there before. There's ways to be innovative in that space. In fact, we should do a cash strapped innovation spot where we kind of talk around some various businesses and how they could monetize on the
Love
fly.
it.
Or, you know, particularly maybe you need it rather than it being from a negative perspective of being a cash flow. What if you want to do something big? You want to invest in something. There's a show that's coming up and you need to make $5,000 for it. Let's give you some examples of things that you can do to do that. How can you raise cash quickly for a good or a negative reason?
Love that.
We should do that as an
topic.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna skip through the channels here and just see if there are any questions that have come up. But it's been fun being in the hot seat, and
Steve's all full of himself now because he has his blue check mark next to his name on Facebook and Instagram. I've been teasing talking about this, but I kind of have an attitude about it. I feel like it's a little bit different to have the blue check mark these days. So I don't know. Maybe keep your eyes open on my social media for how I feel about the blue check mark.
I'm special, goddammit. I've got a blue check mark.
That's funny.
But it's been wonderful being here with you.
Get your face back in there.
Get my face back in there.
There we go.
And you know, I know this is a great time to be with family in many different religions. You know, we had Passover on Wednesday in Judaism. We have Easter. It's Good Friday today and Easter Sunday. You know, it's a great opportunity to be with family. Many people are on spring break around now as well. So please enjoy some time with family. If you are out there working this weekend, building a business or working in any other form, thank you for serving and being there on this holiday weekend. You know, as we always say, we love to answer people's questions and help them move forward with their business. And if you have questions, feel free to message one of us on social media. You can find me with a blue check next to my name. But you can also drop us a question on any of these posts. We look through them. Our team looks through them for us, and we'll be excited to come and answer those again for you soon.
All right, Jill.
And with that, we will bid you adieu. Bye, guys.